Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kings Talk, presented by Cap City Crown. This is Tony. With me, as always, we have the one, we have the only, we have the John. Hey, John, how's it going?
I like the John.
John.
I'm
I like the
John.
bathroom, the John.
Yeah, I'm not a John. I'm the John.
You're not Kevin John. You're the John.
No, I'm not that good. Kevin John is probably my favorite sports guy because he's got that childlike wonder.
He's got that electricity.
Feels amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Kevin John. Really, we're starting with that.
We're kicking out the podcast. The thumbnail should just be Kevin John's face. Well, I mean, we're here again a week later after talking to you last week. And the Kings have played a preseason game, but still Kings basketball, right? We're back. Maybe it wasn't the most pretty of games, but I mean, should we overreact? Just blow up the team.
They were terrible. You got to trade Sabonis.
Dude, Fox is really only going to score 2 points.
Yeah.
Just blow it up.
This is terrible.
Just blow it up.
Keegan Murray, freaking 1 for 5 from 3. Get him out of here.
Just trade him. But I mean, what are your takeaways? What are your takeaways from the game? What do you want to talk about? Because that's clearly going to be a major talking point. Yesterday's loss, or 2 days ago, if you're listening to this on Tuesday, as you all have to, at least.
Well, there's a couple of takeaways but from that game and from what's been talked about at camp and whatnot. But very clearly, it seems like the main topic this season is playing with physicality. And I guess the result was mixed in the first of 5 preseason games that occurred less than a week after the start of training camp. I think given that, it was a good start. I think the first 5 or 6, 7 minutes of the game with the starters out there, they looked awesome. But of course, Tony couldn't watch that because
let's talk about the real issue. It was trying to watch that game. I live within 75 miles of the Golden One Center. That was one of the criteria to watch the game on Kings.com. I knew several people who met that criteria as well, and they weren't able to watch the game. I wasn't able to get on until midway through the second, and by that time it was we're down by 10. And also, I had it on my computer, and then behind me I had the Cowboys Niners game. Do you know how that game ended? I know you said you're going to watch that later.
I've not had a chance to watch it, but if I think my suspicions were probably correct because I didn't hear any outrage from people. But I've kind of avoided seeing it. I haven't been able to watch the game, but I'll put it on. But I had a feeling, and tell me if I'm right, I had a feeling the 49ers, that wasn't even going to be a close game. The Cowboys are kind of overrated in my opinion.
Yeah, you're very correct.
And the 49ers are very clearly probably the best team in football. So,
yeah,
was it a 20-point margin? Was it a 25-point margin? Was it smaller than that?
It was larger than 25.
Oh my God! Well, great. Then I probably won't watch it.
Yeah, it was a schlack show, as I like to call it.
That's good.
Yeah,
I'd love to see it. Screw the Cowboys. America's team, my ass.
America's team. And the Cowboys get so much hype every year.
Seriously.
And just to lose in the divisional round or the wild card.
With Prescott throwing 3 picks. We need you to make a big play.
I think he threw 3 picks last night. It's funny.
Really?
He was calling it. Yeah, he did.
Dak's going to Dak. I'm going to look up the stats. Well, I'll do that later. But
I think we're just talking about it now. Kittle had 3 touchdowns.
Did Purdy throw any picks?
I don't think so.
Good.
I turned it off after 28-10. I was like, I'm done. And then I looked. I'm like, it's 42-10. That was a fun
Oh my
score.
God! They held him to 10 points the whole game.
Yeah,
freaking awesome.
Yeah, it wasn't close. So I mean,
I felt like that game would have prevented people from over streaming the Kings preseason game, but it sounded.
I know. That's what had to have happened, right? The I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Kings.com. I mean, some of my buddies weren't ever able to turn on the game. I don't know what I got. I don't know why I got lucky and was finally able to. But yeah, I mean, I did miss the starters. I gotta watch. I don't know, Jalen Slauson play.
The third unit was pretty good. We'll get to that. Not for Jalen Slauson necessarily, but
Jalen Coldslaw Slauson.
The son of coleslaw.
That's funny.
But it's just so funny because they're like, yeah, it's the return of it's the Canada series, the return of basketball to Vancouver, and you cannot watch it. And I was like, okay, fantastic.
Yeah,
I actually went out of my way because I wanted to make sure I watched the game. I purchased one of those one game purchases on NBA League Pass. And they dicked me. They didn't even let me watch it. And they're like, no, you got to upgrade to watch this game. Like, okay, I want my $6 back. This is stupid.
Stu NBA League Pass.
I'm calling them out on the pod.
Call them out.
I'll be hearing from my lawyer.
I know. I mean, there's 5 preseason games, right? We're down 1, and I just can't wait till it's just on NBC Sports. I hate.
I'm guessing it wasn't on NBC Sports because they were probably doing 49ers coverage.
That's true, but I want to say last preseason it was only I think the last game or something was on was on NBC Sports, but I think the majority were on Kings.com.
Yeah, I remember that. I think it was at least 1 or 2, and I think there was only 4 preseason games last year.
Yeah, but I think they had one on NBC, and I think the last game, I think our last preseason game. No, maybe it's not our last one. Our second to last against the Warriors. I think our last one's against the Jazz. I think we go back to back with the Jazz in preseason and start the season. I think that one's going to be on ESPN, though. The Warriors one on whatever date that is. The last preseason game. I don't know. 10 something. Great.
I think they play a back-to-back in the preseason. I think it's Tuesday, Wednesday.
What?
Yeah, I know. They're going to be freaking tired, Dude,
it's ridiculous. We need to revise the preseason schedule. Get the Players Association.
They're getting too tired. It's too much travel. Got to go up to Vancouver.
Vancouver, dude.
Rogers Arena.
Mike Bibby.
The Bibs.
The Bibs. He's going to be in SAC this weekend at Urban Roots. If anyone's interested, they're going to record an episode of All the Smoke, which I believe is Matt Barnes' show. I think you can buy tickets to go watch it or meet him, one of the two, if anyone cares.
We should do that for Cap City Crown. Yeah, we're doing a live show. And it's nobody shows up.
That'd be hilarious.
We're going to do a live show at Mel's Diner.
Mel's Diner.
On Cadillac Drive.
Let's see. They do not have a back-to-back. You're just wrong. They play.
Don't? Am I not looking at this correctly? The 18th and the 19th?
Oh yeah. No, you're right.
Right. Oh, what a surprise!
Oh, you're correct.
Looky.
But isn't the 18th a Sunday? Or am I stupid?
No, the 18th a Wednesday. You're looking at November, maybe.
Oh, the 15th. Is that a Sunday?
Yes, that's the.
Okay, that's the ESPN game. They have back-to-back games against the Warriors, and then they have legit back-to-back games in the days. So
yeah,
that's our. I guess that's my excuse.
A regular schedule for the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, but we play the Lakers tomorrow, or sorry, I was on my Instagram looking at the preseason schedule because I have it on our Instagram page, and I accidentally swiped up, so a reel started playing, and Tommy Lee Jones in it. I don't even know. I exited out really quick, but it was kind of fun.
Oh, it was a nice little sound bite.
Yeah, Tommy Clee, dude.
Tommy Lee Jones.
But anyways, back to the game. Why people tune in to listen to us, probably. Unless they just love our comedy and our banter.
I think they're mixed on that.
Let us know if you like it or if you hate it.
Yeah.
Probably won't.
Tell us what's funny. Tell us what's not funny. We're trying to gauge your guys' interests.
Yeah,
it's all about the viewers and the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep. It's all about you guys.
it's all about you guys. If you guys want us to talk about how the Cowboys suck, let us know.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to spend 40 minutes on that.
Easy to fill up 40 minutes on that.
Like sleep number beds, I can tell you, if you sleep on a sleep number bed, you're going to throw 3 picks. Just the way it's going to be. It's the way it's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's just facts.
Facts. But you know, like I was saying, the start of that preseason game was really good. The Kings got out. They're playing fast. They're playing with that next play speed, as Mike Brown always says. And the physicality looked good. You know, I mean, you don't really get too worried about the physicality of a guy like Sabonis. He's always a pretty physical player, boxing guys out. Despite not being a shot blocker, he knows how to apply vertical pressure. And then obviously on the offensive end, he's the most physical player on the team, arguably. De'Aaron Fox, kind of the same deal. I mean, you didn't see a ton of like ball pressure from him. I mean, they didn't play a ton of minutes, obviously. But I think he guarded Scotty Barnes at one point, and he gave up Barnes scored, but it was an admirable effort. Fox, obviously, I think we saw him really take on an added emphasis to on-ball pressure in the playoffs. You can't expect that from him every possession on defense during the regular season, given what he does on the offensive end, and given the fact that you got a guy like Davion Mitchell there who can always kind of pick up the slack. But both of them looked pretty good. You know, Harrison Barnes was Harrison Barnes. Not a lot of examples off the top of my head from him, but getting involved both inside and out on both ends of the floor, rebounding, whatever. You're kind of going to get that out of Barnes. Herter and Murray, not much from Herter in terms of physicality. I think he did a pretty good job of getting his hands on cutters early. Same with Keegan Murray. Murray drew a charge, I think, in the second quarter, and then he and Davion came up with a steal, or one of them had a steal, as Murray provided some pressure up near the top. So they did a good job starting out, kind of applying the lessons that are being really emphasized in camp. You know, again, they have referees there, but they added, while that's not a new thing, it was interesting to hear players talk about that. I think De'Aaron Fox brought up the fact that they have referees at scrimmages and practice and stuff like that. Not out of the ordinary, but definitely useful given the emphasis again on the physicality. But it seemed like as other guys came in, things kind of got out of sorts, kind of tying everything together as a cohesive unit kind of got screwed up. And obviously the offensive drought didn't help, and the game kind of quickly spun out of hand. And then that second unit was not extremely good. I think Davion was all right. He was pretty good. He's obviously providing his ball pressure and playing with the confidence that he's playing with that we can talk about later. I think Trey Lyles attempted to draw 2 charges. I think he failed on both of them, but he might have gotten one. But, Trey Lyles, good frame on that guy. He's always going to keep guys out of the paint and whatnot. And then JaVale McGee was pretty solid in terms of being a rim protector. But it seemed like that second unit as a collective group was pretty bad. I mean, you saw it in the third quarter when they started it. That was awful. I don't know what they got outscored by, but I think like Toronto went on like a 15-2 run at one point or something. And they couldn't really stop anything. And it seemed like when Toronto started playing fast and picking up their pace, it was almost like, well, there was no chance for them to be physical, and it was just sloppy and messy. But things kind of returned to a little bit more physical play. Honestly, kind of surprised by this, but Colby Jones in that third unit, Mike Brown said they were great. He was very happy with them. And I think Colby Jones was kind of like, he looked really good on both ends. He did a good job of navigating through screens, which he did really well at Xavier. He was, moving around, cutting, finding open spaces, getting into the corner to spread the floor. He looked really good. He looked really solid. That's another guy we can talk about a little bit later. But in terms of that physicality, wasn't great through and through in the game, but I think it was a decent start. Again, considering the fact that it was the first preseason game. They started training camp less than a week before. They started on Tuesday, and then they played a preseason game on Sunday. Got off to a good start from the starters. But, it'll be interesting to see what happens against the Lakers. But with that being the key focus of the team, it seemed like a decent start. But they're obviously going to have to keep working on it. And it's so key for their defense. If they're going to improve their defense, they've got to be able to play physically and be, up into the ball and whatnot for a full 48 minutes, which Mike Brown wants. And that's that whole taking that step from good to great. So whether they can do that or not, I mean, that's a tough task at the end of the day. It remains to be seen, but, I give them like a C plus in terms of physicality in that first game, which is solid for a start, like taking a test without studying. Like you get a C plus, it's decent.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it was bad. I think they got a chance to be a good physical team this season, but they clearly have a lot to work on.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully it's just, Mike Brown and company, Jordy, can just instill that in them, that they need to be more physical. And I mean, he's making it a point, so it's a good start. And I don't know.
I think it needs time too, because I think one of the main guys that I would point out was not, or did not balance the physicality without fouling as well, was Chris Duarte, who had 4 fouls in about 13 and a half minutes of play. There were moments where it seemed like he wouldn't fight through screens or would not get up on the guy quite as much. And then he kind of started to do that and he started to pick up some fouls. But he's a new guy and he's figuring things out and, kind of playing with that second unit. And it's not as easy to kind of get integrated in the second unit when you're not really playing with, such, beneficial guys to play with like Fox and Sabonis and things like that. But
yeah, that second unit sucked. They
yeah,
had
it was really bad. I don't even think Monk had a very good game. Monk kind of looked a little.
They had their plus minus.
Like all of them have like a minus of 20. Even Davion.
Yeah. It was minus 19 for Lyles and McGee, minus 21 for Duarte, and minus 22 for Monk and Mitchell.
Yeah,
it's pretty rough.
That third quarter really did them in. What was the third quarter margin? It was like
it was like
19
really
to 26, and then the second quarter was 20 to 34, so that was even worse. So they defended a little bit in the third quarter, but yeah. That third unit, though, 25 to 17 advantage in the fourth. They got the game within. It didn't end up being too much of a blowout. They only lost by 13 points. But
yeah, that third unit, everyone was in plus after that.
They were solid.
After Alex Len came in.
And again, good old Allen. But like on that third unit, kind of talking about adjustments, like if we're talking about the second unit with some of the newer guys needing to adjust, and a reason why the third unit might look so good. Keon Ellis, Colby Jones, Kessler Edwards, Jalen Slauson, those guys all played together in summer league. So they have good chemistry, or at least better chemistry, and they have a little bit of a head start on kind of being integrated and playing as a cohesive unit. So with that in mind, it's almost not too surprising that they were one of the better groups. They were the best group in the eyes of Mike Brown. But kind of zooming out of that, it's just like, again, it's like first preseason game. They're going to get more in sync. And with that, it's not a bad start. Not a bad start at all, but definitely something to keep an eye on. Nothing for certain yet. I think Mike Brown talked about it. He said that it was funny because he said it this week. And I remember I was looking for this quote because he'd said this last year in like January or February. And I was looking for it. I remember I spent like an hour and a half looking for this quote and I could not find it, where he was talking about how they play at home and how sometimes they expect with the great crowd things to happen to them. I couldn't find that, but then he said it again basically this week. And, that's going to be something to kind of pay attention to when the season starts. I wouldn't be surprised if they show great physicality on the road, but are they going to be able to do it at home? That's the big question. Are they going to be better at home? Can they do that? Can they bring it? Can they have the presence of mind to be on it and not rely on what is probably one of the best home crowds in the game? So it takes time, I guess, and kind of repetition. And, if they can go ahead and put in the effort and have the understanding that it's on them to play with that style if they want to win, we'll just have to see if that happens. But they know the intent's there. I think everybody's aware of what's going on. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Because that defense depends on it.
Yeah.
But, interesting start. I don't pay too much attention to that score in a preseason game. Again, the starters look great to start. I mean, they were up like 20 to like 13 or something at one point. I mean, they got off to that's not like not blowing them out, but they did a pretty good job. And then near the end of the quarter, Toronto kind of started scoring a little bit. But again, I mean, like for a first game with the return of basketball to Vancouver that nobody got to see, it wasn't bad. It was not terrible. But
the return to Vancouver.
But, kind of getting – go ahead.
I was going to say the highlight of the NBA preseason basketball.
Right. Well, I mean, like the highlight sounds like all these teams playing like these international teams.
Yeah, how come the Kings don't?
I know with Vezenkov there, you think that would have been freaking great.
Olympiacos.
Olympiacos.
I love saying Olympiacos. Just like such a fun word. Such a fun name. Olympiacos.
Yeah. I remember when we first started talking about Vezenkov, I kept calling it Olympicanos.
I saw it. I'm just like, I'm not even gonna try. Something like I hate those words where I'm like, what? And then they say it. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But like looking at it, it's like so intimidating. Like,
well, I was listening to because I was streaming the game on like one of them not so legal sites, and it was because they always have the home team commentators, so it was Toronto's commentators. They're like, yeah, Sasha Vezenkov out of Olympiacos. They said something like that. It was kind of funny. But I guess another takeaway from that preseason game was the fact that, and maybe this isn't surprising, but JaVale McGee got first nod at the backup center minutes. Looked really good. Kind of seems like I don't see him like, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Brown in the second preseason game swaps it and gives Len those kind of primary backup minutes just to kind of give him an opportunity. Also wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't because Len didn't get a ton of opportunities last season. And, you can never rule out the fact that Mike Brown's going to stick with this guy. And I think Deuce Mason asked him about the backup five, kind of noting the fact that you have JaVale, you got Len, and you have Lyles at the five. And he asked him a good question, like, are you going to stick with one guy? Is it going to be more matchups based, kind of playing the hot hand? What's it going to be? And Mike Brown was like, well, whoever we go with, we're going to go with. And even if we need to make a change, we'll make a change. So sounds like it's going to be not so much matchups based, that he's going to have a guy in mind. He's going to have a pretty specific rotation in mind and a backup center in mind. But seems like JaVale kind of has that right now. And he looked pretty good. He again, moves well as an interior defender, altered some shots. I think he blocked a few. And I think one of the more important things, and I remember last season watching a few preseason games, I think Monk hooked up with Rashawn Holmes on a few alley-oops, and it was like, oh, hey, maybe that could be a nice little like two-man game in the second unit, Monk and Holmes. That obviously never materialized. You couldn't quite get that as much out of Metu. I mean, he can be a lob. He could have been a lob threat, but he was more of like a dump off, kind of in the dunk spot threat more than anything. But I think Monk hooked up with JaVale in like 2 or 3 alley-oops. And, I think that can kind of be a big help. Because adding that two-man game element without having to have Sabonis out there, you're not really losing so much in terms of being able to create between the big at the elbow and the primary ball handler being Monk. So that was kind of promising. I think that could be a really good, fruitful combination. I don't see that fizzling out the way. It's not like the Monk-Holmes one fizzled out. It just really never materialized. But
I just feel like JaVale and Monk, like, they're just going to complement each other well. In that second unit, if McGee is that first guy off the bench or plays with Monk, they're just higher energy guys, and they're rim runners. Or I mean, McGee's a rim runner and Monk's the ball handler, but they're quick and they're flashy guys too. So I think that's going to be a nice connection we're going to see go into the season for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just terrific. But JaVale, not only is he, again, I mean, I feel like we always got to bring up the multifaceted elements of JaVale McGee. And I think one of the things that we really like about him now is just his interviews. I think he, on media day, he was pretty funny and being himself. And then I think the first question he got asked on Wednesday because he did some media availability interviews, and Tony Harvey asked him like about his defensive philosophy, and McGee's like, "What do you mean by philosophy?" And then Harvey was going to explain, and McGee kind of stopped him. And was like, "My philosophy is stopping the other team from scoring." It's just like, next question. So JaVale McGee, all business, while also being kind of funny about that. We had questions about McGee. We'll have to see what happens during the season, but I think that whole McGee thing is working out soundly and probably as Mike Brown and Monty McNair wanted to. So that's a good sign.
JaVale Maniac McGee, dude.
The Maniac.
The Maniac.
JaVale
Maniac
McGee. Yeah, he's the guy.
I like him a lot.
0-0.
Last worn by Willie Trill.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. That's funny. Hopefully it's not the same fate in Sacramento.
Willie Trill. He's going to guard all 5 positions out of college.
JaVale's just going to start dressing up like him and get like tattoos on his face.
Yeah, get him tatted.
He's like, I'm an Instagram influencer now. I'm assuming that's what Willie Trill does now.
I don't know. I remember Willie, he was just like, yeah, my passion's not basketball. He's almost like Jokic, but like the opposite in like basketball talent.
Like James Wiseman. Wiseman's not all about basketball.
No, he's not.
That was kind of what the Bay Area sports media would talk about a lot. They'd be like, yeah, this guy's not all in on basketball. He clearly doesn't love the game as much.
It's so funny. It's crazy how you can get that far. I mean, just making it into the NBA in general and just like not it being your favorite thing.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
It's like them being like these like physical specimen, being gifted with good size and athleticism. And then as soon as things kind of get hard, it's just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
That's why Jokic is so funny right now. just winning MVPs, winning finals MVP, winning championship. Just like, I think the reporter asked him on media day, so how many times you like touch a basketball? And he's clearly just like upset to be there. It looks like he's like, I don't know, maybe once. And Jamal Murray's like, he hasn't touched a basketball. And then he's going to go out here and average a triple-double and probably take the Nuggets back to the finals.
Yeah, he's just
just funny.
What? It's everybody aspires to be like Jokic, whatever field or whatever you do in life. Everybody wants to be like Jokic. Just wake up and just do it.
Just be the best at it and not really care about it.
He is like a gamer. He's a video game guy. Is
he?
Yeah, I paused my game to be here. That shirt.
He's a horse guy, though. He loves his horses.
That's right. That's fucking hilarious.
The horse racer.
It's like the little, like, I don't even know what kind of horse racing that is, where you're like, you have the horse and you're like on a little wagon behind it.
Oh, is that the horse racing he does?
Yeah, like look up on YouTube, like his horses, and he's just like riding around and sitting back with his big old long legs, like on these, looking like he's giving birth or something.
I love Jokic. He's like it's hard not to like that guy.
Oh my goodness, yes, he's fantastic, and it's just like, man, Europe is killing it in terms of basketball.
Dude, I know.
Toronto's got fucking, what's his name, Rokovic or whatever. I forget the Toronto Raptors name coach, but
from
Darko something Ravic.
Yeah, where's he from?
Serbia.
Yeah.
And he was talking, because I was watching that Toronto broadcast. And the interesting thing is, in Europe, it's like, and you see this with Jordi Fernandez, because he got a degree in this. I mean, he got a master's. He wrote a thesis on coaching. But Darko is like, you know, to coach in Europe, you have to have a degree in it. You know,
that's interesting.
Like, they come at it with such a, like meticulous understanding of the game. And I mean, you saw it with the Raptors. I mean, at a certain point, they really started playing really well. They were playing fast, unselfishly. It'll be interesting to see what they do, because Toronto still has a good little lot of players there. I don't know what the whole future of Siakam and OG Anunoby is, but man, I mean, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what he can pull off up there.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they'll have to fire him and then hire Jordi Fernandez,
Yeah.
Canada national team coach.
Canada national, dude. Jordi.
Didn't they beat the USA?
Yeah, believe so. Dylan
Jordi
Brooks locked him down.
Good shit.
What's up, Canada?
Good. Yeah, I'm from Canada.
Dude, I'm from Canada.
Cañada.
Canada.
It's a lot of cañada.
Dude. Next topic.
Next topic. I guess another thing, because talking about some of the things we were looking forward to seeing in the game, one of them was obviously Keegan Murray handling the ball more, playing the three. Technically, he was guarding OG Anunoby to start the game, which would indicate that he was starting at the three. I think the Raptors broadcast had him listed at starting at the three. I don't know if that's really matters, because if you remember correctly, in the 2 games against the Raptors last season, I think in that first one in Toronto where Mike Brown got kicked out of the game and Jordi Fernandez got his first win as a head coach.
Oh, yeah.
Harrison Barnes won the defensive player of the game chain because I think Siakam had a pretty decent first half, but Barnes just shut him down in the second half. And I think they had him on him in the second game in Sacramento. So it's not surprising that they would kind of have Barnes playing that 4 role. And really, honestly, we talked about it at the end of last season. It's like, well, Murray kind of already plays the 3 sometimes, but the real question is not so much about positioning who you're guarding. The question now is about him creating with the ball, bringing the ball up, being able to be a creator with the ball in his hands. Something which Murray admitted he said he was a bit of a liability in last season. He said in one of his interviews this week that, it's one of those things where it's like he relied so much on his teammates and it's kind of up to him to step up. And Mike Brown says that his aggressiveness is welcome and it's kind of expected of him. Mike Brown said he was satisfied with the aggression and the ability to bring the ball up, although it wasn't a huge sample size. But I kind of suspect that Mike Brown was kind of saying that kind of as a starting point, kind of working into it. I don't think he's going to hit the ground running in the first preseason game doing that. I think he was bringing the ball up at one point and Siakam had some pretty good ball pressure on him. And Murray just doesn't have the ball handling skills to get out of that. And I think the ball got knocked out of bounds. They had to re-inbound it, and Murray did not handle the ball, I think, for that possession. But, that is obviously a work in progress for Murray. I don't think that's going to be smooth off the bat. I think he can make an adjustment quickly. We'll have to see about that. But, yeah. And I also wondered, I feel like he hesitated on a few threes. And some of the threes that he got off, his shot form looked funky, almost like he wasn't set or ready to shoot it. And I think he only went 1 for 5 from 3. So it sounds like he's maybe got to balance it out a little bit better too, kind of playing off ball and maybe mixing in a few creation opportunities. But not a terrible start, but he obviously did not look like California Classic Keegan Murray at all.
No. Yeah, it's definitely a new role he's gonna have to learn, like being off ball, being on ball. He still is. I mean, sorry, it's my ice maker behind me. Yeah, he still looks a little timid with the ball, maybe a little like unnatural with his. I don't know, just like he's not comfortable, I guess is the better word, dribbling the ball. You can just tell him bringing it up, but I mean, this is the time to use it. And there's my ice maker again.
It's like Pee Wee Herman's house where like all the furniture starts talking to you.
Yeah. I'm just gonna keep going. Okay. Yeah, he just gotta get used to it. I'm interested to see how much they're actually going to use him on ball or with the ball on offense during the regular season, just because he still seems kind of far off to actually being able to do stuff like that in an actual NBA season game. I don't know. At this point, like even in Summer League, he didn't look like the best, but he was playing against,
Exactly.
How
can you handle the ball against NBA defenders? And it's like Keegan Murray's biggest weakness coming out of college and throughout his first season, I think is ball handling. I think that's a fair thing to say. And I just don't know if that's quite up to speed yet. And I don't know how much that can improve throughout a season. I think it's better, but I wonder how fast this progression is going to occur. But I mean, there's so many primary ball handlers. It's just about getting Murray in the mix, giving him a few opportunities in that regard. I mean, you got obviously Fox, Sabonis, Monk, Mitchell, Even Herter when in the 2-man game with Sabonis is fantastic. And we'll see how Duarte works out and things like that. But there are a lot of guys, so it's just kind of not necessarily being the guy, and I don't think anybody expects that, but just getting in the mix there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be steep. It's tough. It's definitely going to require one of those miraculous Keegan Murray adjustments. I think he can do it. How fast? This one might take a little bit of time.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to take longer, maybe like towards the end of the season, or I don't know, I think we'll see him sprinkle, like bringing the ball up, and then he's going to do a turnover, and then they just like stop doing it, and then they try it again like a month later, and then I don't know. That's how I kind of see it. He hasn't convinced me yet that he can bring the ball up or handle the ball against NBA defenders. Can he eventually? Yeah, but I don't see it happening that much this year. But maybe at least like trying to run an offense or anything. I can't see him giving him the ball more to do like, I guess, one-on-one, maybe in the post or like in the mid-range game, a little more so from beyond the arc. I think he is decent down there, but actually bringing the ball up, I don't think that's going to be his gimmick. But maybe give him more one-on-one opportunities. I could see that a lot more.
Yeah. I would almost, and I still agree with what we're saying here, but maybe giving him the benefit of the doubt. Toronto's a really long and athletic and defensively talented team. I mean, you're dealing with Siakam and Anunoby. That's difficult. I mean, those guys are really going to make your ball handling deficiencies glaring. So maybe it looks a little bit better against the Lakers. Who knows? But if he's got someone like Jared Vanderbilt or something like that on him, like, that's not going to be any easier. So it'll be interesting to see there. But I will say this about Murray: I feel like he had a few finishes at the rim. I think he had a dunk to start the game, and his confidence and his ability to finish, I think, is better. There's clearly improvements to his game, and if he shoots the way he shot last season, those things are going to open up for him, and better floor spacing around him. That you're gonna see improvements, but that ball handling and self-creation kind of thing is a work in progress.
Mm-hmm. Nothing crucial at the moment. It's not critical that he needs it. It will help him elevate his game, but
yeah. And I think Mike Brown must have seen the same thing, but post-game, he's like, I was happy. It was a good first step is essentially kind of what I took away from what Mike Brown said about it. So I don't think Mike Brown is necessarily expecting this. Yeah, he's going to be the guy,
he's going to run the offense.
Yeah, we're going to actually bring Fox off the bench.
Yeah. We got a lot of faith in this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's Keegan Murray for you. I mean, not a bad start, but we'll have to see where that goes.
Mm-hmm.
The other topic that we were really interested in was Davion Mitchell's shot. And in this week, as practice was going on, I heard Jason Anderson and others kind of ask Mike Brown about it. And the indication from them was that Davion's shot was altered in the sense that there was less arc. And as we said, I think a week or two ago, Davion Mitchell came into the league. I feel like midway through his rookie season, he just kind of put extra arc on the ball. It seemed to work at the end of that rookie season, but he was so inconsistent and was like a 32% three-point shooter last season. And I think Anderson asked Mike Brown, was there too much arc on it? And Mike Brown, gave a Mike Brown answer. He's like, I don't know, as long as it goes in. But it seems like that was the main adjustment, trying not to just float it up there. I mean, I know more arc on the ball technically gives you a better angle to get the ball in. It gives you more like of a radius to the rim. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if you're just kind of jacking it up, maybe it's not the most precise shot. You're kind of hoping for that better probability. You're not really like working on a better form or a better release or anything like that. But he nailed his first two, and I think his second shot was a deep one. It was like 3 feet behind the three-point line from the top, and he sunk it. And he looked confident, was playing with confidence. We talked last week, I brought up that question of will Duarte challenge Davion for minutes? And we got a few comments where people were like, I'm not really too worried about Davion. And I think another person was like, I'm actually feel like Duarte has more to prove than Davion this season. And I kind of agree with that now. So I don't know. And another thing that the Toronto broadcast said was I think the color commentator was talking about how he spoke to Doug Christie before the game. And Doug Christie was telling him yeah, Davion's going to have a big year. It's going to be hard to keep him off the floor this season. So I think the buzz around the team is they're not really too worried about Davion Mitchell. And I think he missed his last 3 threes, but, you know, first preseason game, got off to a good start, kind of coming out at that moment, midway through the first quarter that he usually does, and supplied a few shots, supplied some defense. You kind of get in the mode of that when you start kind of like getting into a normal rotation. I would imagine he could more consistently play like that. And when the second unit isn't handling the full load like it did late in the first half and in throughout the third quarter, things will be easier for him in terms of other guys being out there like Sabonis and Fox. But yeah, I mean, I was happy with Davion's game. I think he played pretty well. I know that he posted a minus 22 or whatever, but that second unit was just collectively kind of off. I wouldn't put it all on Duarte, but it seemed like him and Monk probably didn't have the best games. So I wouldn't write too much or read too much into Davion not having a good game. I was pretty satisfied from what I saw out of Davion, and clearly there is an alteration to his shot. That was one of the things we were looking for. What looks different? And it looked like there was a little slightly less arc. It looked a little bit more like that shot early in his rookie season. And the confidence is there. I think when Kevin Huerter was talking to the media, I think it was either Wednesday or Friday, he was saying I think Matt George asked him, he's like, yeah, what do you think about Davion? I heard that he was like chirping after practice. And he's like, yeah, he's been talking a lot. He's way more vocal this season. And that was something he wanted to do last season. I remember at Summer League, in 2022, he's like, I need to be a vocal leader and all that stuff. It was better. I mean, he made improvements at the end of his rookie season. I remember Alvin Gentry talking about that, how he's not just a rookie that sits in the corner anymore. He's a little more vocal. There was probably some improvements last year, but it was not to the degree that maybe Davion Mitchell and the coaches wanted. But it sounds like he's going all in, full swagger this season, very confident in his shot, confident in his play, obviously confident in his defense. And I mean, that speaks for itself. And yeah, I think a lot of the worries about Davion, not necessarily saying he's going to shoot 36, 37% from three, but I expect him to come out and play a lot better. And I'm not as worried about him anymore. Given it's just one preseason game. So preseason game where, quite frankly, the second unit was horrible.
I mean, I don't have that much, Davion's going to find the floor regardless with that defense. And I mean, other than his jump shot and, specifically his 3-point jumper last year, I mean, he was solid. He's good at getting to the rim. He's good at finishing. Maybe not the best distributor. Like, I'd say Malik's a better distributor, but I mean, his defense obviously is stellar. Yeah, I mean, it's like we've said, it's like his place in the league, a place on the floor is really going to come down to his jump shot, right? So
yeah,
it was interesting to see his shot a little flatter. I unfortunately didn't get to see it as I couldn't watch the game, and he was out.
And they don't have any of the clips on NBA.com.
Yeah, so I'm upset. I want to see that deep one you're talking about, but yeah, I trust your word for it. I didn't mind that high arcing shot, but at the same time, like if you're just jacking it up there, I get the radius and whatnot. That's a better like angle to get to the rim. There's like more of it to go in, I guess, of the ball, higher chance. But it's also like a longer way to get to the rim. And if you don't have that touch and you're just throwing it up there, then it's really not doing you any good. So maybe a straighter line to the rim gives him a better touch. I don't know.
I wonder if Steph told him, he's like, yeah, no, the arc thing works for me, but
he's like, I actually have touch.
Yeah. So maybe you want to go back to what you were doing.
Yeah. And maybe go ahead. No. I mean, maybe he did say that because he wasn't terrible. I mean, he wasn't great his rookie year, but he definitely had stretches where he wasn't terrible. And even in, I don't know. I just felt like, Summer League was a long time ago where he won MVP, but I feel like he was pretty decent from three there too. And I remember his shot being a little flatter. So, okay. But I mean, then again, he wasn't very good his rookie year. He shot 32. So we'll see. He's older, more wise.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that was interesting too is I think when he came in midway through the first, it wasn't for Fox. I think Fox, Monk, and him were out there together in that mid to late first quarter. And I
Mm.
wonder if that's kind of a thing that they want to do. I mean, I still always think about at the end of his rookie season when they had Fox, DiVincenzo, and him playing against the Bucks, and who was guarding Chris Middleton? It was Davion Mitchell for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And he was battling with them, I mean, not making things easy on a guy
Hmm.
that has a huge height advantage on him. So, especially if you have someone like JaVale or Alex Len there, it's one of those things where maybe you can play a little smaller, 1 through 3, if you have that imposing presence in the middle. But that was out there with Sabonis, so I don't know. That might be an interesting thing to mix in the 3 guard lineups. That was something we talked about last season a
Hmm.
little bit, and so that'll be interesting to see if that can kind of pan out. And again, that kind of probably depends on the shooting, because you have Fox and Monk who probably take ball handling duties away from Davion, just being the 2 better ones. So that'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. I think Davion can definitely play his way into winning more minutes, and you kind of start talking about a 3 guard lineup, with either Murray or Barnes and Sabonis being the 4 and 5. That could be a good closing lineup. That could be a closing lineup you see a lot, and with Davion's defense, that would be a huge help and something that they want. And again, for the 1,000th time, the shooting is so important to that. So it's good to see
Yes.
him be confident. And that's another thing, is just like, maybe you're not thinking so much about the shot now. It's like, oh, I got to get more arc on it. I got to change it. It's more just, let me just shoot the ball. So sometimes simplifying things and just doing and not thinking so much, um, is important. And that's something that Mike Brown's talked about with the team as a whole, like talking about the first couple practices. He's like, yeah, they're doing a good job. There's some good reaction time to guys, but you can still tell guys are thinking about it. And you kind of need to take that element of thinking out. Things need to become second nature. So in regards to that, that really seems to fit into what should be able to work and help Davion, which is just shoot, just be a shooter.
Hmm.
So maybe that calms him down a bit and makes him a little more productive in that sense. But he was good. I think I was pretty happy with what Davion brought, and I think he showed glimpses of what could be a real breakout season for him. And he can really help this team out, because if you get him on the floor, not only late in games in the regular season, but out in the playoffs. I mean, we were talking about it's like maybe there's an argument for why they didn't have Davion out there, but it's like, man, that defense. I mean, with Steph scoring 50 in Game 7, it's just like,
Shoot. Yeah.
Davion played more than 8 minutes. You know, if Davion gives that reason, like, no, I have to be out there because I am shooting, 34, 35%, knock on wood, that helps the team out immensely. So Davion's been a big topic this offseason, or this kind of preseason area kind of time. And he's kind of taken the heat off, because, us Cap City clowns really bring the heat.
He's so integral, because I mean, if he can step up his game, I mean, he's going to be a big reason of like how far the Kings go. I think it's really going to come between him, Murray, and I think Sasha. Really, I just think it's those 3 guys. If they can really step up their game, it's hard to say Sasha step up their game, but like actually be like a good NBA player, and Davion take that step up, be a good shooter. Keegan take a step up and become like maybe not that 3rd star this season, but like show like, oh man, like he's this dude's going to be really good in the NBA. Not just like break the 3-point rookie record, but oh shoot, this guy might score like 25 next season. Kind of good. So, I mean, that's what we're talking about him so much, is like if he can really get his offense going, and again, that's going to come down to his 3-point shooting. I mean, his defense is top tier already. So, you know what you're going to get from Monk. Duarte, again, he's a question mark too, but I think those 3 guys are going to be a little more interesting to watch, I guess,
Yeah.
see them improve. But you can put Duarte on that list as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, one of the interesting things was the fact that they went with kind of just the 10-man rotation basically in the first half, or most of the first half. I don't think Vezenkov came in until late in the third quarter, or
Yeah, I think he came in late in the 3rd.
Or was it the third quarter? Yeah, because
I believe, yeah.
because he was part of that second unit behind the real second unit in that second
Mhm.
half. So they played with just the 10 guys in the first half. So it was the starters and then the backups being Mitchell, Monk, Duarte, Lyles, and McGee. And that does kind of point out the fact that it's like Vezenkov's a little bit on the outside looking in. Obviously, if you have Lyles at the 5, Vezenkov slides right into that second unit, but alongside Lyles. But, Vezenkov did, I think, play pretty well. I think what he hit a couple of threes with that great stroke, just fantastic. It's like amazing to see him do it. I mean, like you see the highlights, you watch some of the games from Olympiacos, but to kind of just see it in a Kings uniform, you're like, oh yeah, that is going to be a menace for a lot of defenses to have to pay attention to, spreading the floor. So the defensive situation, I don't think there was a lot to see there. I don't know that we saw him a lot on ball against guys that were trying to like get him or like go after him, get downhill on him. So I know Mike Brown said he'll have to rewatch the tape. So that kind of substantiates that fact that it just didn't seem like there was a lot to see. So his defense still kind of remains to be seen, at least on ball. I know when Mike Brown talked about Vezenkov, he really was like, we're going to really have to see if Vezenkov, the biggest thing he has to prove is prove that he can sit down and defend a guy one-on-one. So maybe there's been issues in practice where that hasn't looked so good, but if you can disguise it, if you can't really get him where he's being pinned or being targeted by the opposing offense, if they're not going to do that, then he's going to be a great weapon, whether he's shooting or just spacing the floor and keeping guys honest. So I think it was a pretty solid preseason debut for him, kind of first time in an NBA uniform out on the NBA floor. But we're going to have to see more of a sample size and more challenges come his way. But not too bad from Sasha. It's just like watching a shot. I don't know. That's just kind of...
It's so beautiful, really.
It's
such a quick release. I mean, I think he's going to be a problem just off that shot, really. I think he's going to do the dribble handoff well. I think he's going to fit in so well. I'm really excited for this guy.
And I think in terms of physicality, I think he can do that. I think he can be a little physical. I think when he was his first couple minutes in the game, he was running up the floor, and I think one of the defenders just stopped, and he kind of just gave him a push. No call or anything like that. They kept playing, but you kind of like to see that from him. And he's a tough guy and fearless, so he's going to bring that to him. And again, it's just about that on-ball defense, whether it's can hold up, whether it's something that's going to be, quote unquote, exploited or something that the team's going to exploit. We'll have to see. But pretty good start from him. I mean, no complaints. It'll be interesting to see, again, if the rotations kind of get shifted, if he gets a little bit earlier minutes, gets to play with some of the starters. Because it'd be really great to see Vezenkov out there with Fox and Sabonis, because if you have Sabonis doing a DHO with him, or you have Vezenkov opening the floor for Fox, that's really where you're going to see maximum impact in terms of his offensive game. And that can be really exciting. So Vezenkov, pretty good start. We'll see how everything kind of goes with him, but not too bad. It'd be interesting to see too. He's going to have to play well. He's going to have to play that defense to get out there. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that can kind of help him with that, Mike Brown referred to Lyles as being so versatile. And he didn't just refer to him as a 4 and a 5. He referred to him playing the 3. And I think that in that second half, they did have either, I don't know who was the 3. I think Vezenkov was technically the 3. But, the versatility of positions might be a little more expanded than initially imagined. I think, whether it's the 3-guard lineup, you have, Fox, Monk, Mitchell. Maybe they go a little bigger and they have a Vezenkov or a Lyles playing the 3, quote unquote. I mean, it probably depends on who they're playing and whatnot and how the other team's playing them. But Mike Brown definitely looks like with this deeper team, he's going to try to utilize more guys, and versatility helps with that. And he's trying to foster that. And it'll be interesting to see if Vezenkov can help with that, because I know Lyles can kind of do that a little bit. And I don't know if I feel as comfortable with Lyles playing this 3 as Vezenkov or vice versa. That'll be interesting. That kind of remains to be seen. That's something to kind of keep an eye on as well.
But yeah, good to know.
Versatility.
Mm-hmm. They do have a lot.
Yeah. But kind of moving on to another topic here, we kind of alluded to one of these guys earlier for having a good game in the preseason game against Toronto. But one of the topics that we kind of talked about leading into training camp was the third point guard. Are they going to add a third point guard? Of course, they signed Jordan Ford to a 2-way contract, and I think Mike Brown got asked about that in the third point guard situation. And Mike Brown was like, yeah, Jordan Ford, he definitely could be a third point guard in this league, but he indicated that he's kind of looking more at Colby Jones and Keon Ellis to kind of fill that role. And I think Keon played a little bit more of the point guard position at, in that preseason game, and he showed a lot in the summer league that I think shows promise for that. But maybe it doesn't have so much to do with the third point guard for Colby Jones, but Colby Jones had a great game. I think he looked terrific. He looked very natural out there. He brought some physicality on defense. He navigated through screens extremely well, keeping his body on guys. He was good on offense as well. And, you never know what you're going to get out of a rookie, second round pick. I know he's the feature pick from the draft, but he had a really nice game. And I think when Mike Brown said that the third unit was great, that he was very proud of him, I think Colby Jones kind of was the leader of that unit. I know Jordan Ford did have a good game. He went 4 or 5 from the field. And, Keon Ellis didn't shoot well, but he was bringing some ball pressure and whatnot and playing decently. But I think Colby Jones was kind of the star of that unit. And, it's going to be obviously a long way until he can crack the rotation. But in terms of a third point guard, and it's not like he would necessarily get all the handling duties, but it would, he'd be another handler that you could bring into the rotation should Fox or Mitchell not be playing. And I don't know. I mean, Colby Jones looks solid, and he's going to have to do it again and again in the preseason and continue to show his coach that he can play to that standard. But in terms of doing the little things, I think that's where he would look best. Staying with his guy, getting involved in terms of finding open guys and taking shots without kind of hesitating, and just kind of doing all the little things, which seem to make up what physical basketball should be. And I think he did really well. I think, JaVale McGee said something this week where it's just like, you got to, one of the important things with talking to some of these younger guys is not saying something that's going to get them kind of not directing someone to the point where they're going to kind of get away from what the coaches want, because it's just all these guys want to do well and everything like that. And they want to try to squeeze in and show what they can do. But it seems like Colby Jones is staying within the limits of what his coaches wanted to do. And that seems like it's going to serve him extremely well. And again, it was just he played 11 minutes. It's not a huge sample size. 2 of 6 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3. Not like he shot the lights out or anything like that, but solid, and we're talking about it being the first preseason game within a week of the start of training camp. Great first start for Colby Jones. And I think he was one of the more promising and satisfactory performers in Sunday's game. And yeah, I mean, if that third point guard situation, if you get Fox missing a game or 2 here and there, I mean, Davion Mitchell is a workhorse, and I think he played 81 games last season. So his availability has always been pretty good. So, but should that happen, Colby Jones could step in there and play a few minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if he could do that. I mean, it's not going to be a huge thing. He's still a rookie. He's still not one of the top 12 players on the team, maybe, but he looked good. And, there's obviously going to be questions about a second round pick, what they can provide in their first year. I think if push comes to shove and he has to play, I think he has a chance to be solid, So.
Yeah, I mean, I think his ceiling, no offense to you, Colby, I think his ceiling is a role player in the NBA. And if he can stay within that role, something like we kind of saw on Sunday, then he's, I have no problem with him, filling in as that third string point guard, maybe bringing the ball up or running the offensive. He needs to, or just playing at that point guard position if Fox or Mitchell's out. That's what he's going to have to do to make it in this league. And I think that was a good glimpse on Sunday.
Yeah. I was just kind of surprised by that, because that was one thing to watch for was, well, how's the rookie going to look? And he looked good. I mean, I think one of the things that you could say about Colby Jones coming out of college is just he's a high character guy and good work ethic to him. And very clearly he wants to do the right thing and help the team. And, I think not focusing too much on Jalen Slauson, but because he's the other rookie, you saw it in Summer League. It's just what's this guy's role going to be? I can't figure it out, because he was such a point forward at Furman. And it's just I don't know what that translates to in the NBA or even the G League. And, he's obviously going to try to go out there and play a certain way. And I think the role that they want him to play, being so reduced compared to what he did to college, is going to take a bit of an adjustment for him, especially as an older rookie. But Colby Jones seems like he's going to do what you want. And I mean, like, you think about rookie role players. I mean, like Christian Brown in like Denver last season. I mean, he was so great because he did what Mike Malone wanted him to do, just did the little things, brought some intensity on defense, hit open shots when they came his way. And obviously Colby Jones, I don't think is going to have that role in the 8 or 9 man rotation like Brown did. And Brown was a late first round pick, as opposed to Jones, who was an early second round pick. But, that's a great weapon to have at your disposal. And, Mike Brown talked about, there's going to be a rotation of, 8 or 9 guys in the regular season, or 9 or 10 rather in the regular season. But he said something to the effect of like, but guys I'm going to throw guys out there. I'm going to throw the 13th man out there. I just want to see what he can do. I want to remind them that they have to stay ready. And I think Colby Jones is going to thrive in that situation. I think he understands that he's a rookie. He's a second round pick. His role is not to be anything close to him, him in college where he was the best player on Xavier. So I think he's got a good, clear-eyed kind of understanding of what the situation here is in his rookie season. And again, that's not necessarily going to translate to him playing 75 games or something like that. But in terms of a first step, again, I think that was one of the more positive things to take away from this game. So Colby Jones, Colby Jack Cheese, man. I mean, like we kept saying it. It's like you could have gotten this guy at pick 24. You got him at like pick 34 or whatever it was. And it's just like, this guy just feels like it's a nice little weapon that they picked up. And I don't know. Monty McNair doing it again.
Monty McNair, those high quality guys.
It's what he's about,
Loves it. It's worked out so far.
Yeah. But I guess kind of as a last topic, and I just kind of thought about this, but in terms of that rotation and stuff, Mike Brown was asked about, there's like a deeper team. Would you ever you think there'll ever be like a change in the starting 5, or you're just going to kind of have those guys out there? And Mike Brown, kind of surprisingly in my eyes, was just like, yeah, I mean, the starting 5 is going to get the first go in the start the season and whatnot, but I'm not going to be afraid to make a tough decision. And based on that, if you had to say who, not that anybody's at risk of losing out on a starting position, of the 5 starters, who do you think could most possibly be moved to the bench should something like that occur?
Man, that's a tough question. Right. Not Fox, not Sabonis, obviously.
Oh, really? You don't think Sabonis that solved the backup center problem right there?
I almost want to say maybe something controversial. I want to say no. Actually, I want to say Keegan. I want to say if Vezenkov is playing super well and Keegan hits a sophomore slump, then I don't think they'll be afraid of, throwing Vezenkov or Vezenkov or whatever.
Yeah, you got it. You're getting it.
Bezzy. I'm just going to call him Bezzy.
Sasha Vezi?
What's up, Sasha Vezi?
Sasha V.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind. I don't see Barnes getting really replaced. Herter, I think he's the next obvious choice. But, I mean, Malik, I don't see it being Malik Monk. I see it being Colby Jones or maybe even Chris Duarte replacing him. Because Malik's just so invaluable off the bench. So I just don't see Malik taking over for that starting shooting guard role. And it's hard to see Herter going out, too. Even with his shooting struggles, he still brings stuff to the floor. That's why I say Murray, just because, sophomore slump happens. He really starts to struggle. The Kings don't really have that leeway as like a second-year player. Sometimes the second-year players recently in Kings history, it's like, we still suck. Just let him work through his struggles. That's not how the case is anymore. We're trying to win now. Maybe not so much now like as other teams, but like they're trying to win. And if he's struggling, and Sasha or I don't really see Trey getting that nod at the 4. But yeah, I mean, Like I said, I have high hopes for Sasha, so I could see him taking it. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you in a lot of ways, but I almost think just because Murray, they have such high hopes for Murray. I feel like I don't know if they. I mean, he'd have to have a really like he'd really have to be slumping because I was almost more tempted to go with Herter, but I do agree that if someone's going to step up, I think Vezenkov has a better chance to step up than Duarte, especially after this first preseason game. It felt like Duarte was playing catch up all game, but if Duarte were to take the step in year 3 that people expected him to take in year 2, if he can shoot well from 3 and bring a baseline of defense, I think he. I mean, Herder can be a good defender, but I think maybe Duarte is a more consistent defender. And I think if Duarte had, you know, if he can really bring out the maximum output, I guess you could make the same argument for Herder. But I almost do kind of agree in the sense that if there was a guy off the bench that was really going to step up, I think Vezenkov could really do that. EuroLeague MVP, if he can just show that baseline on defense, we know he's going to shoot. We were talking a little bit earlier about, it would be really great to see him play with Fox and Sabonis because that's really where I feel like you're going to see everything kind of mesh and unlock very well. And that might take some time, but should that happen, that would not surprise me. But, I do get the sense that Mike Brown says stuff like that to keep people honest. And it's such a highly competitive and deep team, deeper than it even was last season. They were pretty deep, even as, that stuff wasn't like one of the things you were kind of saying there, like they have to win. They have the target on their back now. So they're going to be ready to try to exploit weaknesses in guys. So there could be an opportunity for a change in the starting lineup. I don't necessarily seeing it happen. I don't know if Mike Brown's really thinking about that right now. But
I doubt it. Let's be real. I don't see
guys honest at this point.
Exactly. I do not see the starting lineup changing at all. Like actually thinking about it, it's like, I mean, even what I said is like a stretch for the hope for Murray. And Duarte would really have to outperform Herter.
Exactly. And again, I'm just kind of recycling that whole like, well, is Duarte going to take minutes from Mitchell? And like Mitchell gets me off his back, and I'm like, well, is Herter? Is he going to lose out to Duarte? But no, I agree. I mean, they were one of the best starting lineups in terms of like overall efficiency last season. I think they played like the most minutes together. So we're talking about continuity and being one of the strengths of this team. It's kind of hard to imagine. Something would really kind of have to go catastrophically wrong. But I think an honorable mention in terms of that conversation, just maybe kind of as a dream situation, I feel like maybe the best for the team would be Barnes coming off the bench. Just because, I mean, I think we talked about it before. It's like, man, imagine if Barnes could bring that Iguodala type presence or that Sean Livingston type presence that was going on in Golden State. I mean, Barnes got thrown into the starting lineup again in Kerr's first year after getting benched in his second NBA season, and he had a great year. And, Barnes can recognize that. I think he would take, obviously he wants to start. He signed an extension and all that stuff. He's being paid like a starter, but I feel like Barnes would take it the most gracefully and have kind of the best big picture outlook on how that helps the team. But again, that's not really anywhere close to happening. The way the starters started the game, I think that's a real big indication that they are such a good unit. And a change at the starting lineup is obviously not on the horizon, but it is interesting to consider because that was an interesting thing that Mike Brown said, And again, kind of the main takeaway from that is just like it's highly competitive and he's just keeping guys honest. And it kind of is almost in the same light of like, well, I'm going to throw the 13th guy out there. I want everybody to be ready. I want everybody to understand, that we want the best possible situation out there and everybody's got to be ready for anything. So maybe that's just good coaching from Mike Brown. Good little rhetoric in terms of keeping guys motivated and honest. But an interesting question I wanted to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, it is an interesting question. And it's something that he did say. So something to keep an eye on, even though I see it as unlikely. But it is interesting to think about as well.
Indeed. But, well, we got to over an hour here. And I did not think we were going to be able to talk that much about such an ugly preseason game. But here we are. We did it.
The first preseason game and probably be doing the podcast every week now going forward, now that the Kings are going to be on consistently until hopefully May or June.
Hopefully
if they
June.
get lucky.
Is the finals going to go into July this season?
I don't know.
Already like a week and a half later with the whole cup thing and them not wanting to compete with the NFL as much, it seems like, at least early in the season.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe July.
The Kings are going to play until August.
Yeah, exactly.
The Kings are never going to stop playing.
It's going to go all year round, baby.
We'll start competing in Europe or something, or whoever's playing during the summer.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Well, then we got Summer League at that point, like in July still, right? At the end of it?
Yeah.
Or no, it's like the beginning, right?
Yeah, it's like July 4th weekend.
Yeah.
So.
It'd be crazy.
Seriously. Are they going to move the draft back?
I know, exactly. Which is
look up draft.
2024 NBA draft.
Yeah.
All right. Let's check it out.
See. Do they have a date for it? I don't think they do.
Doubt it.
I don't think
it's pretty far out. Yeah, I don't see anything. When is the 2024 NBA draft?
Well, they
will
say
be held in late June of 2024.
Yeah, they say it'll likely take place on the 20th of June. So maybe
it's probably not.
Yeah,
it probably won't go to July.
That's pretty normal draft time.
We're gonna our next topic will be the 2024 mock draft.
Who do you like? Who's gonna fit in? Who's gonna be the fourth pick of Monty McNair?
I don't know. Do the Kings not have a first round pick next year?
Well, because it's going to go to
Atlanta,
I think.
Well, never mind. I guess we don't care. Back-to-back years with no first round pick.
It'd be fantastic. No need to get rid of Holmes.
We're projected to take Aiden Mahaney, point guard, shooting guard, with pick number 40 out of St. Mary's. He's a sophomore.
I love that they even try to do mock draft. I mean, like, it's more about draft positioning than like fit for the team or whatever. But
yeah.
Why don't you just do that? Why do you have to put the team on there? Like, it just gets like kids excited. Like, oh my god, we're gonna get this guy.
Jalen Bridges, small forward out of Baylor, is a senior with our 54th pick. Way too early mock draft 2024 episode 71 Kings Talk.
We had nothing to talk about this week. We couldn't watch the preseason game again, so we're gonna talk about the draft. Love it.
Well, anyways, I think that's all the topics we got today. John, anything else you want to bring up?
Nah, I'm looking forward to another week of training camp interviews and another playoff or another preseason game.
Another preseason game.
Games until we talk again, because they'll play Wednesday against the Lakers, and then, as we said earlier, that Golden State Warriors game on Sunday on ESPN.
On ESPN, yeah. So I don't really know how to watch the Lakers game. I hope it's on Kings.com, but I see it's also on NBA TV, which I don't get. So I don't know if I'll watch it. We'll find out. And then we'll see if it is on Kings.com. We'll see if I can actually access it this time. But Lakers, always fun. Warriors, always fun, even if it's preseason. Hey, it's something to watch, right? On a Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, it's a shame that Sacramento couldn't get the live stream working right away. You know, I wonder if Dial Pod could help with that.
Dial Pad?
Is it Dial Pad or Dial Pod?
It's Dial Pad.
Well, shit.
Are you stupid?
Sounds like a... Never mind. I'm not going to say it. But Dial Pad.
We're just going to end this here. I want to thank you all for joining, as always. Until next time, have a good one.